Hello students, today we are doing lesson 4.3 on subtracting integers. So in the last lesson we learned how to add integers, and today we're going to learn how to subtract integers. And this is, you'll see in a minute as we go along, that you will need to know the rules for adding integers to be able to subtract integers. And let's get into what that means. Okay, I'm going to illustrate something to show you how we subtract integers. So if I was to say, okay, this is going to be a subtraction problem. If I have 3 minus 2, everyone knows that that equals 1. That's an easy first grade problem. Now let's use that same problem, the 3 and 2, but instead of subtracting 2, let's add the opposite. Okay, so we learned about opposites in lesson 4.1. So when instead of doing 3 minus 2, we're going to do 3 plus negative 2. So we're adding the opposite of the minus positive 2. Instead, we're going to plus a negative 2. And now you know your rules for adding integers that we learned in the last lesson. And those rules are, if the signs are different, here we have a positive and a negative, then you're going to subtract. So that would give me 1. And use the sign of the bigger number. So 3 is bigger than 2, so we leave it positive 1. So see how we got the same answer when we added the opposite from subtracting? Well, that is the rule of subtracting integers, is that you're going to change your minus to a plus, and then you're going, so now you're adding, and then you're going to make the second number after the minus sign its opposite. Okay, so let's write that down as a rule. So this is integers, or integer rule. Remember, we had integer rules for adding, and we have integer rules for subtracting. And in a couple of days, we're going to learn how to also multiply and divide with integers. So we'll have integer rules for multiplication and division. Okay, so the integer rules for subtracting are change the minus sign, or let's just change the minus to a plus. Okay, so up here where we were subtracting, and over here we're adding, that's what we're doing. We're changing the minus to an addition. Okay, so that's our first thing, change the minus to a plus. Then the second thing is change the second number. And this just really means the number after the minus sign. So change the second number to its opposite. So remember, if you have a positive number, the opposite is negative. So if you have a positive 1, the opposite is negative 1. If you have a negative number, like negative 3, then the opposite is positive 3. Okay, and then the last rule is you're going to follow addition rules. And those should already be in your notes from the lesson before. Okay, so here are your rules of subtracting. Okay, so now we're going to do some examples, and we're just going to go through these rules over and over again. Really, this isn't very hard. It just takes practice. So giving you more examples helps you with the learning the rules. Okay, so example 1, we're going to do an A and a B. So part A is going to be 9 minus negative 7. And part B is going to be, B is going to be negative 5 minus 9. Okay, so a couple of things before we start is these negative signs. So notice this negative sign right here almost looks like a minus sign. That was just me making it pretty big. But most of the time you'll see them up high, like this one right here. Sometimes when they're right next to a minus sign, it could be confusing. So sometimes you'll see in the book that they do this. That's just to show you that that is a negative sign, goes with the 7. Okay, but in this example, they don't do that. So we have a minus and a negative 7. So we're going to follow these rules right here. And the first rule says change the minus to a plus. So I'm going to change my color of my pencil so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to change that minus to a plus. And then it says change the second number to its opposite. So instead of -7, I'm going to change that to a +7. And I just do that by making it a little plus sign. That means +7. Some kids like to erase the negative. I don't like to do that because I want you to see that it was there at some point. So now I have 9 plus +7. So that's just 9 plus 7. And the answer is 16. Okay, let's go over and do part B. So part B says -5 minus 9. So I'm going to do the same rules that are up here. I'm going to first change the minus to a plus. So I change the minus to a plus. And then I change the second number to its opposite. So the +9 is going to become -9. Okay, and now I follow my addition rules. So what were the addition rules? If my signs are the same, negative and negative, then I add, so 5 plus 9 is 14, and I use the same sign. So they're both negative, so my answer is going to be negative. So if you haven't gotten down the rules to adding, then subtracting is going to be harder. If you need to practice more adding, then you need to go back and practice more adding so that the subtracting won't be as hard. Okay, we're going to do 3 more examples, and then I'm going to give you some on your own. Okay, now example 2. Example 2 is -7 minus 9. So this one is very similar to part B that we just did. We're going to change that minus to a plus and the second number to its opposite. Okay, and now I follow my addition rules. So my signs are the same, -7 and -9. So I add and I use the same sign, negative. So example 2 was -16. Okay, example 3, we have 8 minus a -5. And here's one where they put that -5 inside of parentheses. That's okay, don't get confused. It's just trying to show you that that negative sign goes with the 5, that it's not a minus sign. I don't know why they do it sometimes and not other times. Just different books do different things. Okay, so I'm going to follow my rules of change minus sign to a plus and change the second number to its opposite. So instead of -5, I have a +5. And now I follow my addition rules. My addition rules when the signs are the same. See, this is a +8 and a +5. So my addition rules say to add, which gives me 13, and use the same sign. Now, I'm not going to put a little plus sign up here because I don't need it. It's just +13. I just don't put a negative sign. Okay, and then the last one for these examples is one where it says evaluate -7 minus n for n equals -3. Okay, so I'm going to, when you have a problem like this is not solving equations. There's no equal sign over here in the equation. That's the expression. I'm going to put this -3 in place of the n. So I'm going to rewrite that as -7 minus -3. So I need to make sure that that minus stays there and the -3 goes there. Okay, now I have a subtraction problem, just like the first 3 examples I gave you. And so we're going to solve it the same way. We're going to change our minus to a plus. Whoops. And our second number from -3, we're going to make it +3. Okay, and now I need to follow my addition rules. So my addition rules say these signs are different. I have negative and a positive. I'm going to subtract, and then I use the sign of the bigger number. With the bigger number, we're just talking about the actual numbers, not the signs in front of them. So 7 and 3, 7 is bigger, so I'm going to use a negative. Okay, and there's my answer for example 4. Okay, so before we end this lesson, I'm going to have you do some on your own, and this is going to be by doing the skills check. So go to page 121, and I want you to do numbers 5 through 10. Numbers 5 through 10. And what I want you to do right now is pause the video, do those problems, and then come back and check. If you want to just do 2 problems and then you can check those 2 problems and then hit pause and do the next 2 problems, you can do that also. But I'm just going to tell you to pause right now, do 5 through 10, and then when you come back, I'll work all those out. Okay, pause now. Okay, you should be back now, and we're going to go through each one of these. We're going to talk about how you should have solved it and what the answer was. So here's the first one, -5 minus 7. So I change my minus to a plus and second number to its opposite. Now I follow my addition rules. My addition rules say the signs are the same. So I add, which is 12, and I use the same sign, which is negative. So see if you got that one right. Number 6 is 2 minus 8. Some kids are very tempted on this one to just write the answer 6, but that's not the answer because I need to change my minus to a plus and the second number to its opposite, which makes that 8 a -8. Now I have 2 plus -8, and those signs are different, so I subtract, but I use the sign of the bigger number, and 8 is bigger than 2, so that's going to be a -6. Okay, hopefully you're getting these right. Let's go on to number 7. Number 7 is -3 minus -5, and they put this one in parentheses. That's okay. We're going to change that minus to a plus, second number to its opposite. Now my signs are different, so I subtract, and I use the sign of the bigger number. So my answer is +2. Okay, example. Oh, that's not example. Sorry. Number 8 is 4 minus a -6. Okay, so I'm going to change my minus to a plus, second number to its opposite. Use my addition rules. So 4 plus 6, that's a +6, which just means 6. The signs are the same. I use the same sign. So my answer is 10. Okay, the last two are ones where they gave you what n equaled. So you had to put those into the problem. So on number 9, you had n minus 8. And it said 4, n equals -7. So all you're going to do is put that -7 in place of the n. So I'm going to rewrite it and put -7 minus 8. Okay, and now I follow my rules. Change minus to plus, second number to its opposite. My signs are the same, so I'm going to add, and I'm going to use the same sign. Okay, and then number 10, last one. We have -17 minus n, and this one says n equals -10. So that means I have -17 minus -10. Okay, because I put this in place of n. I didn't change my minus. My minus stayed the same, and my n was the -10. Okay, now I'm going to change my minus to a plus, second number to its opposite, and now I have -17 plus +10. That means my signs are different. I'm going to subtract. I get 7 and use the sign of the bigger number. 17 is bigger than 10, so I have -7. So hopefully that practice helped you get a little bit more confident. If you're still not sure, you can go through and do some more examples or go back and rewatch this video. Make sure that you're taking notes while you're doing the video. Okay, that's it for today.